Welcome into another episode of the My Two Bits Gators Football Podcast. I am Ben, joined as always by my partner in crime, Mr. Randy. Randy, how you feeling tonight?
Oh man, feeling good, man. It's a nice crisp evening in good old Gaines, Vegas, 55 degrees, winds out of the east at about 4 or 5 miles an hour, and looking forward to getting into some Gator talk with you, my man.
You know, if you ever decide to get into a career in meteorology, I think you will be well served in that. You are always giving us that nice weather update in Gainesville.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. We have a pretty cool pod for you tonight. Looking forward to bringing this to you. We're going to give you a discussion around the current and long-term sustainability of Florida football. So, kind of an interesting topic here. We really want to get into some thoughts we have around this and where we are as a program, both now and kind of looking forward into the future around some different topics and some things that we think are relevant to this as it relates to the team and its current structure. So, with that in mind, we'll start as always with our intro, our mission, vision, and agenda. So, as always, our mission is to provide factual analysis of all things Florida Gator football. Our vision is to have unfiltered conversation around the product on the field, as well as recruiting and overall coaching decisions. Our analysis will be based on review of film. And while we will express opinion, that opinion should always be based in some form of fact. We will have evaluation of strategy and tactics and observation of player personnel decisions, as well as on-field execution where we can see it. Of course, will be a little less than that, obviously, in this, because we are looking more at the positional strengths as we go through and look at this. So what are we going to look at this in this pod? We're going to look at what have we done this offseason to help us get back to winning football, right? Because that's what we all want to see is winning football, right? So we're going to have a discussion around that, some subtopics around recruiting, the transfer portal, and what we've done to invest in our current players. And then we're going to take a look at the 2024 team and kind of look at, based on both the coaching changes that we have made so far, and also the player changes that we've made, right? Or whether they've been of our choice or not, right? And kind of take a look, are we plus or minus in those categories, basically on paper, right? So on paper, talent-wise or ability-wise or coaching-wise, are we plus or minus in these groups or at these coaching positions or what it might be by the room, right? So whether it be the different positional rooms for the players. Are we plus or minus where we were last year? Should we be better on paper, right? We don't know yet. We understand that. We're just evaluating this from a theoretical standpoint at this point in time. And then we're also going to kind of take a look at, based on what is in the room as a whole, not just what we gained or lost, right? Separate from that, what do we think the production is going to be in relation to last year as well, right? Kind of a guesstimate as to that. Now that will be less based in analysis and more just kind of what we see based on the talent pool that currently exists in the room and kind of comparing that to what was there last year and whether or not we see the opportunity for improvement there. And then from there, we're just going to wrap it up. That'll actually be the entirety of the agenda for tonight. It's going to fill, I think, quite a bit of time actually looking at each of those positional groups and the different coaching changes. So with that, let's get things started with a look at what we've done this offseason to help us get back to winning football, starting with recruiting. So I'm going to turn it over to you there, Mr. Randy. Talk to me about what you've seen with recruiting so far. We've obviously talked about it with our early signing day pod. But what have we seen since then that has caused you to have either good thoughts, bad thoughts? Where are we at with recruiting in your mind with this current iteration of the 24 team or 24 recruiting class, I should say?
Yeah, B. So a couple of things. I'm not going to be too long-winded here, but I think the main thing that I took from the past few months, couple months especially, is when you look at the recruitment of players, when you look at this new landscape between NIL, the portal, and everything else going on, I think one thing that's extremely crucial is that you recruit to the whistle. You just continue to do it, right? You go after these kids. And again, everyone's promising the world. They're getting a bag, 2 bags, 3 bags. They're getting a Lamborghini. SUV, whatever. You know,
Nice.
yeah, had to just plug that in there, right? No,
Had to do
but
it. Had
seriously,
to do it.
yeah, but seriously, when you look at everything else going on, and you and I discussed this in a previous pod, and understanding the fact that the amount that we slipped didn't think it was too justified, right? When you look at the amount of players that we still had. Now, true, we might have lost some key guys that were a 5-star, 4-star, whatever the case might be. But when you look at how this class has rounded out, correct me if I'm wrong, B, we saw earlier that now On3 has us rated as a top 10 class. Can you confirm?
That's right. I can confirm as of today.
Exactly. So I look at that and I look at the additions that we made. So rounding everything out, one of the biggest weaknesses we had was on O-line. So outside of that, do we go out and get just 1 or 2 O linemen? No, we go out and get 5.
Right.
Solid. We get 5. The other thing is when you look at what happened on the defensive side of the football last year, true, lost a big asset in Princely, but outside of that, when you look at what we added and the talent that we added and the depth that we added with certain transfers, went out and got 4 new on the defensive line. That's going to help in addition to what we currently have. So I like the fact that we went to the whistle. We didn't let the initial numbers affect us. We didn't let the initial commits, non-commits, whatever the case might be, affect us. Napier and his team, they just kept at their process, chipped away, and continued to go after what they could get. And I like how strong they finished.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Anything else, or is that your culmination there?
B, I think that's the culmination.
Fair enough.
I'm just really excited to see what these guys are going to do. They're already enrolled. They're on campus. They're doing things. And I know we say this every year because we wear orange and blue goggles, but it is my true hope, looking at things on paper. Again, on paper, I like the way you said that we could have a special fall coming up here. Special fall.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think 2 things are important about what you said there. I mean, we certainly do wear orange and blue goggles. We do. We're fans. We have bias. There's no way to get that out. I think we recognize that, but I also think we try to be really analytical as much as we possibly can. I think that's a goal that we have in what we do here. We try to evaluate things as we see them on the field, on film, per rankings, per stats, right? We try to evaluate things as they are, even if there is some bias that we're just not going to be able to get out. We also recognize that there's some bias we're not going to be able to get out, and we try to account for that, right? We try to be as legitimate as we can, if you will. We try not to slant things any more than would be, I guess the normal for any human that has any kind of regular bias that you would have, just for your fandom that is going to play a role in this. So I think it's really important that you call that out, because I think it's important that we recognize that, but that we also try to put that aside as much as we possibly can. But we're also not going to sit here and say, oh, we're completely unbiased and we have none of that factoring in. No, we know it's there. We're aware of it. But we also try to bring as much of an analytical look at this as we possibly can, right? That's number one. Number 2 is an important thing, as you said, is the on paper piece, right? We're evaluating this from an on paper standpoint. We don't know anything yet about this class, right? There's a lot of unknowns when you're dealing with recruits and freshmen and talent as it's projected. This is projected talent. That doesn't always work out, right? There are plenty of 5-stars that have amounted to nothing, right?
Kamari Wilson.
Ronald Powell, I'll bring up. RIP, right? Number 1 recruit in the country when we got him years ago. Didn't amount to much of anything, unfortunately, in his collegiate or professional career. Pretty unfortunate story there, kind of all the way through, and gone much before his time, and really unfortunate in a lot of different ways. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to is not all talent, projected talent, materializes, right? I mean, there are things that just don't come through the way you would expect them to. So at the end of the day, we don't know anything. We don't know anything. But there are signs and there are indicators and there are projections that look promising in things that we're seeing with this class. So you brought it up. It is now ranked 10th on 3. And maybe more importantly, the average player ranking is 6th. So that's really important too, right? So this is something that we talked about before. It's not just about what your overall class is ranked, because part of that ranking counts in how many recruits you have. So Miami's class is currently ranked 5th, but their average player ranking is 7th or 8th, I believe. We actually have a higher average player ranking than them, but they have 27 recruits and we have 20. So because they have the number of recruits they have with the overall ranking they have, their class is ranked out much higher than ours.
Yep.
If we had 27 with our average player ranking, we would be like 3rd. So I don't know that exactly. I'm projecting. But my point that I'm trying to make is our average player ranking is legit. It is really, really, really good. We are 6th in the country in average player ranking. It is very, very solid as to the ability or projected ability, once again, of the players that we have in this class. And that's really important to keep in mind and not forget. So not only is it a solid overall class in ranking, but is a really solid class as far as the average player ranking. And that is really important. One other quick note, that does not include Jameer Grimsley, because he is a transfer and not part of this recruiting class. So that is a really important factor to look at as well, because again, he was not let out of his national letter of intent by Alabama, so he has to classify as a transfer and not a recruit. So it would be even better if we had him in it as well. So all really important things to consider when you're looking at this class. Turned out to be a really pretty solid class, despite all of the drama on early signing day and all of the, oh, look out for Florida, they're falling like a rock. Well, guess what? Looks like we recovered okay, didn't it? Yep, sure does. So the sky isn't falling. We're looking pretty solid, and all hope is not lost. So take some solace in that, Gator Nation, and know that we're going to be okay. So next thing, let's look at the transfer portal. So I want to look at this from like kind of an overall perspective. From my take on this, we'll talk about specific player additions when we get to the review of the kind of pluses and minuses in the player breakdown that we have coming for the 2024 team. But just looking at it overall, I think we've done a really good job in this section of the transfer portal. Not spectacular, mind you. I know we're not ranked, super, super high. We are in the top 30 for the record. But it's not been, outstanding as it comes to overall player rating. And part of that is degraded by all the players that we lost, for the record, some of the higher ranking ones, obviously. But when we look at it, we've addressed positions of need. And this is the thing that I want to focus on, right? We went after things that we needed in the portal. We needed some O linemen. Well, we got some O linemen, and some of them, I think, quite quality. We needed, a linebacker. Well, we got a linebacker, and I think one that could potentially start for us. We probably needed a couple corners and a safety. Well, we got them. So when you look at it, we have addressed positions of need in the transfer portal with players not only that have experience and have, the potential to have an impact and potentially, in a lot of cases, start for this team next year. That's really quality work by this coaching staff to get players in that are going to have an impact for us on this team next year. We didn't do a great job of that last year. All jokes or whatever aside, Mertz, yeah, great job. Aside from Mertz, can we really call out a transfer from last year that was an impact player? I don't really have one for you. I mean, Mazkua was decent. Hudson was pretty good. That's about all I got for you. That's where the list kind of ends for me. Aside from Graham, that's really the only thing that really stands out as being anything that was especially solid in the transfer portal. So I'm really happy to see a lot more guys that I can kind of point to and say, yeah, I want to see him play. Right? There's a bunch of them. I got a list, right, that I'm looking forward to see on the field next year, either in a starting role or even as a, rotational guy, whichever. But a lot of them I think are going to start, and I think that's great. I think that's what you want, right? You want to bring in talent that is going to be able to start for your team and come in and play meaningful snaps for a significant portion of time. And I think the coaching staff's done a really good job of doing that for the most part in the portal. And again, we'll get to the specific player discussion later. I know obviously we talked about a few of them on early signing day, but we're going to talk about the rest of them today. So what do you got for transfer portal there?
All right. Regarding the transfer portal, here's the thing, man. The transfer portal game was extremely tough. And when you look at I like how you said that regarding the oh my, all the issues that people say, oh boy, the Gators are going to do this, they're going to lose this, lose that, whatever the case might be. I just feel like they did the best they could. Could have been better, sure, yeah. But at the end of the day, as far as the various additions, they brought in pieces that are going to help the overall makeup of the team. And the other thing too that I think is really refreshing when you look at some of the pieces that have been brought in. I like the fact that all these guys mention the fact of what they're trying to build. They want to be part of a rebuild. They want to be part of something special. They want to be part of a family atmosphere. And I think the other thing is these transfer portal guys are looking at some of the newer guys coming in 24 class and the freshmen going, you know what? I can build something special here. And so when I look at that and I look at everything else that they are pointing to try and be great, to try and pick the spirits of this program back up, build internally, build from ground up, I think it's going to, I believe, compared to 2023, you're going to see a greater impact of those players that we acquired through the portal on the field. And I think they're going to be on the field in a real way, and they're going to bring real impact as soon as possible.
I like it. Good stuff. All right. On to the next, investing in current players. I know this is probably something you've got a lot of thoughts on. I'll let you lead on it. What do you think we're doing that matters, that is going to help with investing in our current players to help us get back to winning football?
Yeah, man. When I look at how GatorMade is structured and the implementation of GatorMade, they're not just hyping up football players, right? GatorMade is designed to round out these young athletes, men, fathers, brothers, future business leaders in general. I like the focus around what they've done with GatorMade, especially with the new complex. I love the focus around the academics as well. The SEC All Academic team, huge, right? 75% of the team made the All Academic team. That's a huge deal. So I know in the last pod we talked about why would a player come to UF? It's true, outside of the swamp and everything else, number one public institution in the States. For those who want to take advantage of it, but I tell you what, it's a great opportunity, regardless of how they feel about taking advantage of it, because it's a great resource when you look at the tutors they provide and all the various resources to move forward if you do not continue in the game of football. I love what they do on that side to develop these young men further and further. The other thing that I think is really key, so you might have heard this, the evening that the dark Sith Lord put away his lightsaber. But so when Nick Saban, when that announcement was made, one thing I think was very interesting. Thanks, Jameer. But outside of that, Napier came out and said the one interesting thing about Nick and Terry is that they take care of their people. Miss Terry was so involved in the program, so involved in with different coaches and personnel and things like that, that's where Napier gets some of that structure from. And I want to say it in his time in Alabama. So for those of you who don't know, Napier was fired as the offensive coordinator at Clemson. And he pretty much came to Alabama with his tail between his legs, kind of not really high, not very confident. And he had a major setback. His dad had a big health issue his first year there at Alabama. And he said, if it wasn't for Coach Napier walking him through that, talking him through that, making sure that Billy can be there for his dad and different things, he wouldn't have made it through that year. And so the other thing that I think that instilled in him is when you build out a program, when you want a NFL style front office, when you want this certain personnel, when you want, of course, we know the joke, the running joke was when Billy first came to town, the coaching staff outnumbered the players in the team photo. Remember that?
Yep.
So when you look at that and everything else that they're trying to do there, I really love the investment. I really love what they're doing with these recruits, bringing them on as soon as possible. And I love hearing these young recruits saying, hey, I want to build something special. I want to be part of the rebuild. Hey, I'm going to go out and recruit this guy because I want to create something special here in the swamp. And I want to play with these guys here. I want to play with some of the best of the best. And we can recruit the best of the best. Then there's nothing to be said about, well, we don't have the talent anymore to get it done. So love what they're doing from that perspective, B.
Yeah, me too, man. So really interesting on the academic thing, and I'm going to bring this up. So I'll go in a little more detail here. So we had 137 total student athletes named to the Southeastern Conference Fall Academic Honor Roll. That is a record. Of those, 75 belonged to the football team, which represents a new SEC record, breaking the previous one held by UF. This is the third time that the Gators have set the record since 2020. We put 62 on it last year, which surpassed the previous record of 55 that we set in 2020.
How about that?
So we broke the record, then we broke it again, then we broke it again. I love it. And not only did we broke it again, but we smashed it twice. So we went from 55 to 62 to 75. So absolutely obliterated it 3 times in a row. And 2 of those are under Napier. So if you don't think this stuff matters to him, if you don't think that this talk about developing the person and not just the player is a big deal to him, there are the results. They speak for themselves. And that's all I have to say about that. And I give him massive credit for this. I think this absolutely is a reflection of him valuing the development of the human, not just the football player. And I absolutely love it. This is what it's about. This is about the drive that he has to grow human beings, right, in their development, not just football players. Not that he doesn't care about growing football players. Clearly he does. But this is about more than just that. And that to me just speaks volumes. You want to talk about a great culture, right? You want to talk about a great program as a whole, right? That is something that not just any university can say clearly, right? We continue to set the bar. That is absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I love it. I probably can't say enough about it. I'll keep it short because we have a lot of other stuff to get to. But clearly making the development of the person, not just the player, is a priority for him. And again, the proof is there time and time again. It's not just in academics, it's in GatorMate as a whole, as you talked about. And it's just awesome. So with that, I think that's a really good kind of synopsis of the things that we're trying to do here overall, whether it's recruiting, whether it's the transfer portal, or whether it's investing in the guys that are already on this team to get back to winning football. And I think the efforts are really solid. I think we're really making an effort on kind of all phases here, and I think that's really good. So when you talk about kind of what we talked about in this pod, both current and long term, I think that speaks to all or both of those things, right? Like as a holistic thing. What are you doing currently with recruiting and the transfer portal? We talked about it, and investing in current players. That's how you develop the long-term game, right? That's what this is about. You develop people that want to have a lasting impact and impression on the university, on life, on the world, right? That's what we're talking about here. And I think that's really what Napier is preaching day in and day out. And I think that really matters. So there are going to be guys that don't take to that, right? We know that. But I think a lot of people will. I think a lot of the players will. And I think that's really going to matter in the long run. So I hope that gets a chance to play out. Time will tell if it will. But if it does, I think you really have the opportunity to have a real long-term impact. And I'm excited about it. So we'll see what happens. All right. Moving on, let's take a look at the 2024 team and whether or not we think there is a plus or minus gain based on the changes to player and coaching personnel. So, with that in mind, yes, here we go. Let's start with the coaches. So, what changes have we seen in coaching so far? All right. So, as many of you are probably well aware, we have lost since the end of the season our defensive line coach, Sean Spencer, our defensive back coach, Corey Raymond, and our linebackers coach, Jay Bateman. To replace them, we have picked up Mr. Gerald Chapman at defensive line, Mr. Will Harris for our defensive backs and safeties, theoretically. Remains to be seen if that actually happens. Mr. Ron Roberts for our linebackers and also executive head coach and also co-defensive coordinator. We'll talk about that later. And as an added bonus, another special teams coordinator, assistant. What's the right word? Analyst? Analyst is the right word. Mr. Joe Houston, because he's not technically a coach or an on-field coach anyway. We'll get into that. But yes, we technically have somebody else that's going to work with the special teams, at least in practice. So let's talk about the on-paper results of this. Again, that's how we're going to evaluate this, right? Based on what we gained versus what we lost. So on paper, based on my evaluation here, we have gained more than we lost from a coaching talent standpoint, right? So when you look at this, Chapman versus Spencer, coaching talent-wise, Spencer might actually have the edge in this. Raymond versus Harris, I think Harris probably has the edge from a coaching standpoint, based on his track record so far. Ron Roberts clearly has the edge over Bateman in coaching. There's really no question there. And then having the gain of getting another special teams coach, I think you have to, again, I realize it's not a coach, I reuse the word, but gaining another analyst, somebody else to work with special teams, that has to help that department. So that's just a plus straight up, and there is no loss there. So when you look at that, that has to just be a plus. So overall, I think on paper, you have a gain there, right? However, having said that, coaching isn't just about coaching in college, right? It's also about recruiting. And when you look at that on paper, we may have taken a slight step back. Spencer and Raymond have proven to be really strong recruiters, right, throughout their careers. So we will have to see if Chapman and Harris can step up, especially Chapman, and meet those expectations. They do not have the same pedigree there. Harris so far, top marks. He's really done some good things so far, especially in the transfer portal. I'm very much all smiles about him in that area, but it's very early, so time will tell. Again, Ron Roberts unquestionably is an upgrade from Jay Bateman. I don't, it both really in recruiting and coaching, honestly, and should absolutely help the linebackers as well as really the defense overall. The only concern I have in regards to Ron is because of the titles that he has gained, Will there be any kind of power struggle between him and AA when it comes to setting the scheme, when it comes to designing the defense? I don't anticipate that. But again, because of the titles, I can't know for sure, right? Could there be a power struggle there? He used to be AA's mentor at one point in time. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know for sure. So there's a bit of speculation there. We can't know for sure, right? I don't anticipate it. I think it's going to be fine. AA is still the official DC, right? I think more of the titles that were given to Ron Roberts so that we were there so we can pay him more, right? Rather than because we're actually giving him that power. Last but not least, Joe Houston, really nice that we added something there. I hope that will clean up the miscues on special teams that we saw last year, even though they did get better at the end of the year. But I'm hoping that will resolve any lingering issues that might be there, give a little help at practice, and make sure that stuff is cleaned up. And if not, we know who to blame. So at least we got a scapegoat, right?
At least.
So those are my thoughts as it relates to the coaching changes. What do you got?
Yeah, so along the similar vein, the one thing that was tough about Jay Bateman going to, what do you call it again? University of Florida of the West?
Florida West, baby.
There you go. He just dipped, and
yeah,
so that was tough. That was really tough to see.
He didn't even throw the deuces up. He just pieced out.
Right? Exactly. Like he just turned. I mean, talk about 180. I'm out like Trout. So, anyways, that was just a shame to see after everything that he tried to do while he was there. And I thought it was all bought in the orange and blue, but it was what it was. So
he was in. I got one more for you. He was in the group chat, and then you just got the message that Jay Bateman has left the chat. That was all you got.
Oh, wow. Hashtag 10 points for B Mix. Okay, gotcha. So, but that was the posture. And it's like, of all places, you go to A&M. Good luck with that rebuild. Thank you very little. No. All. So
I really hope we beat them next year. I got to be honest. That one in Kentucky are the two I'm circling as much as any games on the calendar.
Brother, I don't want to beat. I want to mop the floor and run the score up. That bad,
Yeah.
But yes. So here's the thing. Roberts or Bateman. Advantage, Roberts.
Yep.
Harris or Raymond. I'd give the advantage to Harris. Here's why. No disrespect to Corey Raymond. He has got a great resume. But it seems as though he might have fizzled out a little bit.
He may be past his prime. Time will tell with him going back to LSU, but I'm inclined to agree with you that he may be past his prime.
Right? He's back in the bio. And again, I agree with you. He's a great relationship builder. But outside of that, when it comes to the coaching aspect,
yep.
Positioning aspect, there might be, I apologize. Let me revert. We have seen a regression in player development. I'll just say it that way.
The film would indicate
yep.
that we are not seeing the player development that we had seen previously in Corey Raymond's career. That is what the film shows us, right? We're all about reviewing the film, and if you look at the film, that is what the film indicates. So I'm with you there.
Yeah, and maybe he needs to go back to the bayou, get some of that swamp water. I don't know. I mean, we got swamp water, whatever. So
different swamp. We got God, I don't even know. I want to say they have Cajun swamp and we have some other kind of swamp. I don't know. I don't know what to call our swamp.
I would say Everglades.
Cypress swamp, Everglades swamp. There you go. Cajun swamp versus Everglades swamp. There you go.
There you go. And here's the other thing too. So Sean Spencer, his nickname, right, was Chaos.
Yep.
Okay, kind of a good thing, right? But here's the thing. His nickname might be Chaos. He might coach at a high level. His voice, when you hear his voice in practice, he might have the tonality, the cadence. And I get it. We had a lot of challenges on the D-line this year. But I just did not see that come to fruition the way that I would have. When I look at what Gerald Chapman's approach is, what he's trying, Gerald Chapman's out there playing chess, not checkers. And so I like what he's going to do for this D-line crew that we're going to get into. So anyways, I would give the advantage there to Coach Chapman. And then Coach Houston versus, oh yeah, by the way, we didn't have one at all. He said, "Call him a coach.
Well,
Call him an
we
analyst."
we technically did. You had Couch. We technically did, but
Okay, sure, I could have done that, but I'm just saying,
I could have done
advantage Houston, advantage Houston. Okay, advantage Houston. So
Yeah. Have you
outside
seen
of that,
the Houston we have a problem memes?
yes, yes.
Pretty good stuff. Pretty good
I,
stuff.
I'm telling you, B. I wish I had that much time on my hands. But that aside, yes, Houston should help the miscues, and I think really and truly, if Houston really were to work with Crawshaw, obviously he's got a heck of a leg. I don't see why he doesn't have another 5 to 10%, maybe 12% more balls that are pinned inside the 15, the 10. And then when you look at some of the personnel when it comes to returning some of those balls, some of the formation where we get some yards coming back, right, to make up the difference on good field position when we are returning the football, I think that's going to help there tremendously, especially when you look at formations and things like that, because, well, let's be honest. It's kind of ridiculous when you get a penalty for two players wearing the same number jersey.
Yeah,
So
to
that is
me, that's more what this is going to be about is organizational discipline
yeah,
is what I want to see from special teams. I wasn't displeased with special teams when we executed properly. It was all the organizational discipline issues that we had. Clean those up, and I got no problem with special teams. They were fine. Like we were second in overall punting, fourth in net punting, field goal
yep,
percentage of just under 85% because of a weird miss at the end of one game at the end of the season. Like, I mean, dude, it was fine. It was fine. Like the return average was decent. The punt average was decent. Like all those numbers, all the stats were fine. It was
yeah,
just the organizational discipline. Way too many times having 10 guys on the field or 9 guys on the field to block a kick, the double number penalty, the leaping over, though that one I
leap.
actually am not even going to have. That was BS.
I
We
know,
talked about that.
I
So
know,
that's not even an issue. But the overall, just way too many organizational discipline issues. And that's what has to clean up. Get that cleaned up, and I got no problem. Just clean that up.
exactly.
That's your job, Houston. That's it.
That's your job if you choose to accept it. Which, oh, by the way, you did. So yeah. And then the last thing I'm going to say is Will Harris. I concur with you. I love what he's been able to do, but even more importantly is again when the Dark Sith Lord put away his lightsaber, he basically and this is really odd how they classify Grimsley, right? Transfer,
Yep.
this, that, and the other. Again, he wanted to go play for Saban. I get it, no problem. But Grimsley basically said that thanks to Coach Harris for keeping in touch, thanks for Coach Harris to reaching out, thanks to Coach Harris for being available. Will Harris recruited to the whistle, period. And that's one of the bigger reasons why we got Grimsley. Because when I read that report and when I read the initial article, it said Spencer had an opportunity, but Harris had timing.
Yep.
So
There you go. And I got to tell you, it's funny you mentioned Chapman playing chess, not checkers. It's been Harris's slogan that he's playing chess, not checkers. So very interesting analogy that you drew with him there. And I also loved an article I read about Harris where he is saying that, Napier kind of called out, the rising to the challenge type thing that a lot of the coaching staff and Florida as a program is facing here with rising to the challenge, and how Harris is up for it. Like he was amped by that. He wanted the challenge. He's like, bring it on. I loved it, man. I love this guy's attitude. I love his energy. I'm excited to see him coordinate with AA and his energy. I'm really amped to see the DBs play next year and what they are going to bring and how that might differ from what we've seen before, but we'll get into that. So
yeah.
Anything else on coaching from you?
That's it, brother.
All right. Let's talk player groups. Let's get it started with offense. Let's talk QB. Very exciting to talk about the QB room. Let's talk about losses. Let's talk about gains. So quick preface, we are not going to talk about players as best as possible. There could be a miscue in here from me, but I think for the most part, I have kept this to all scholarship players. We are trying not to get into walk-ons, right? So any PWOs being preferred walk-on or straight up walk-ons. This is primarily in all hopes, it's all just scholarship players that we are going to focus on here.
Yep.
Reason for that being just simply for simplicity and everything else, probably more guys that you've heard of and things of that nature. So that's what we're going to focus on for both our losses and our gains when we look at this. So to that end, let's talk quarterbacks. Let's talk about the quarterback room for 2024, what we lost, what we gained. Here we go. So we lost Max Brown to the transfer portal and Jack Miller to retirement, I guess we'll call
it. He graduated.
Yeah. So I guess we'll call it graduation. Sounds good. We gained Mr. DJ Lagway, number 3 player by On3 and 2 player in 247, I think. Yeah, pretty high ranking overall. And Clay Millen is the other pickup that we have in that regard at quarterback. So we have a second string, and we'll call it borderline second string, 1.5 string maybe. And we have our third string in Clay Millen as a transfer. So what do we think about the losses and the gains here? So there's a couple of these that are pretty clear cut. This might be the most clear cut of them all. There's really no question that there's massive improvement here from a talent standpoint on paper. Lagway is debatably the best high school player in the country, right? Depending on what you look at and everything else, I mean, he's not quite number 1, but he's very close. And when you add that kind of talent, especially at the QB position, multiple services now have him as the number 1 quarterback in the country. This has to make you better. There's no question about it. I'm extremely excited to see what kind of improvement this can bring to the room. He's going to have involvement. It's more or less been stated he's going to play in virtually every game in some kind of package set, in coordination with Graham. I'm also extremely excited to see what Graham does in his second year of offense. When you look at transfer quarterbacks that have success, right, historically, their best season is their second season, not their first. In almost every case, it is uncommon to see a transfer quarterback have their best season in their first season. So, examples: Jaden Daniels, right? That's a pretty good example. Won the Heisman, right? Joe Burrow. Oh, that's a good example. Won the Heisman. I know I'm just listing LSU quarterbacks, but these are pretty good examples. The one maybe exception would be Caleb Williams. He probably had a better season his first season, actually, but nonetheless, still very good second seasons in a lot of cases because they become more comfortable and more aware of their options and everything, right? The first year they're learning the offense and they're getting comfortable. The second year they're perfecting it, right? They're tweaking it and they're getting all of the reads in play and everything else that might come into effect with that, right? That's kind of the piece of it. So I'm really excited to see Graham in his full second season with this offense. Really holds a lot of potential for significant improvement at the most valuable position on offense on the field. Not necessarily the most important position group, right? Because I would argue that's O-line. But the most valuable to your offense is quarterback, right? So huge upgrade here. Really no question in my mind. I doubt there's any in yours, but I'll let you speak to that. And just huge upside. So that's what I got as far as the quarterback review goes. Very excited. I think anybody who's a fan of the Gators has to be excited about Lagway. No question about it. And really should be excited about Mertz. I think Mertz is getting a little overlooked here because of the Lagway factor. And I think we shouldn't overlook him. He's primed to have a really good season. And I'm excited to see that. So With that, I'll turn it over to you. What you got on quarterback, bud?
Yeah, dude. Really, Jack Miller retirement. Yeah, graduation, whatever. Apparently, he still has tendonitis in that thumb, so he can't throw.
All right, sounds good. We'll go with it.
It's tough to see Max Brown leave because I really would love to see what he would do in this offense, especially being a dual threat QB out of Tulsa. Really, really a good talent there, good size, good running ability, right? So tough to see him go. However, when you look at what was brought in with DJ, you already said enough. I'm not even going to say it. Clay Millen coming over from Colorado State. Norvell trusted him to throw the rock, did well, got comfortable. He's going to be a great backup. Aiden Warner coming over from Yale. Great addition. No disrespect to Leon or Lease. Those guys will stay on the practice squad, keep those arms hot, heavy, and ready. But at the end of the day, the lineup like Mertz, Lagway, Millen, and if you need to get to Warner, that's going to be phenomenal. I love the fact that you called out the second year progression of a quarterback. Now, he wasn't a transfer, but if you look at Kyle Trask's second season, the season that he just absolutely had a phenomenal year, right? He pretty much kept up with Burrow, throw for throw, almost touchdown for touchdown. If Graham Mertz has a similar season to what Kyle Trask had just a few years removed, special things happen. Yeah, and I get the Burrow and Daniels comparison absolutely with their transfer bill, but right now, if Billy is in his air as much as I think he is in Mertz air, we're getting for a special 24. He's going to get more comfortable. He knows things. Not to mention, he's got a familiar face in a wide receiver that just came south. That was a teammate back up north. So all good things across the board, especially with how DJ has said his relationship is with Mertz. They love each other. They talk all the time. They go out to dinner. They're going over plays. They're going over techniques. Synergy. That's what we need. That's what we've got. And I just look forward to seeing it come out on the field in the right way.
I like it. Good stuff.
Yeah, man.
All right. Here we go.
Next category.
Are you ready for the tough one? This is the tough one for me, and it's O-line. So let's get into it. Without further ado, we lost on our O-line. Kingsley Eguakwan, Jalen Farmer, Jordan Herman, Lindell Hudson, Richie Leonard, and Micah Mazkua. Yikes. Yikes, yikes, yikes. However, we did gain Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon, Devin Manuel, Marcus Maskell, Mike Williams, Noel Portagen, and Fletcher Westfall. So, despite the losses, we did have some solid gains. However, most of them in that group, other than the first two I listed, are quite young, as in they are freshmen. So, that is important to note. The notes that I have here are that it is hard to call because there is upside to say that this group could be better than the group we had last year. However, we are looking at this on paper. And on paper, this is not a more talented group. It simply is not. When you lose production like you had from two starters in Richie Leonard and Mazkua and a solid backup in Hudson and another starter in Eguakwan, it is really, really hard to see how you're going to get better with the loss of four solid players on your O-line, right? Four solid guys that were giving you solid reps and graded out pretty well, by the way, on PFF. I won't get into all the stats there, but graded out pretty well when you look at that. Really, really, really hard to see how this is going to get better on paper. However, part of what hurt this group's performance last year as a whole, and we know we were not very solid at O-line last year, clearly, was injury and an inability to gel together because they lacked cohesiveness right? They lacked the ability to play together consistently with the same group. If this year's starters and backups both can develop more chemistry and a more solid rotation as a unit throughout the season, I believe we could absolutely see a better unit put on the field despite a slight talent deficiency that we actually have. Things to keep in mind in regards to this. Cam Waits will be back along with Damian George and Najee Harris and Roderick Kearney. Now, Harris and George and Waits, of course, saw significant snaps last year. Kearney did not, but he was a prime prospect who redshirted. We also need to remember that Caden Jones and Bryce Lovett could be possible contributors. They redshirted as well last year. So we have a lot of talent that is returning to, or a lot of potential talent, and as well as recognizable talent that is returning to the room. You add in Crenshaw Dixon, who is a solid starter at tackle, along with, of course, Austin Barber, and the new addition of Devin Manuel, who could also play tackle. Look at George possibly playing guard, Waits possibly playing guard, Najee possibly playing guard, right? We have a lot of options there. You bring Slaughter back, who ended up being a very solid replacement at center when Egwuquan was injured after a little rocky start, but he filled in nicely. And all of a sudden, I see a unit coming together there that could really be just fine, maybe better than fine. So the potential is there. Whether or not it materializes remains to be seen. But again, we are evaluating this on paper as well as what we can see as potential, right? We're doing both. On paper, has to be a minus to me. For potential, I have to say question mark, but I see upside. That's what I got. What do you got?
Nice. I dig it. Good breakdown there. On paper, I have a minus. I have very similar reasons, but at the end of the day, it's going to be the talent, the way that we're graded out Pro Football Focus. I agree with you. We don't need to get in the meat and potatoes of it. The one thing I'll say, and we kind of mentioned this a while back, but continuity, synergy, time, reps. The one thing that I will say is, or one of the things I will say is, Mike Williams, number one, coming out of Maryland in his position.
Yeah,
Brandon Crenshaw.
Sorry, right? I didn't mean to interrupt. Mike Williams is a super interesting prospect. Despite his grade being very low, his rank being very low, there is a ton of like question marks around him as like, could he be a total diamond in the rough? There's a bunch of articles that I have read about him being like way undervalued and did we steal one and all kinds of stuff on him. So Mike Williams is one to watch for sure. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, I couldn't have said it better. My literal notes on Mike Williams is steal of the 24 O-line group.
Absolutely possible. Don't know yet. Again, remains to be seen, but really could be an interesting one.
And that's the other thing too. I like how your take on the potential there, but we talk about continuity. We're losing a lot on the O-line, right? But at the end of the day, you still have Austin Barber. You have Jake Slaughter, which I thought had a much better second half of the season than he did first half.
For sure.
Cameron Waits, man-child. Okay. Damian George. If we can just take Damian, and I'm going to take 2 cents out of your chapter here. We take Damian, and where do we move him from what to what, B? Well, what do we do with Damian?
Tackle the guard. Don't let me see that man play tackle again for Florida football. Napier and I are going to have a fight if I see him at tackle. I swear.
Tackle to guard. All right. He is slower than your granddaddy's molasses as far as securing the edge. Okay. So that's why he needs to be shifted. No problem. Najee Harris, I think he's going to have a much better. And that's the other thing, too, when you look at the line, whether it's O-line or D-line, experience, time in the trenches, that matters. It matters. So that's why I think Brandon Crenshaw Dixon, he's going to come in and automatically slap some people in the face and create massive impact. Devin Manuel, here's the thing. People are like, okay, great. He's a transfer. He 3-star, whatever. Devin Manuel came from Arkansas. people might not realize, but Arkansas kind of had a dual threat quarterback. Arkansas's got some good players. They have some playmakers, and Devin Manuel torched us last year when it came to giving Jefferson the opportunities that he needed to pull out the win.
Yeah, that's right.
And so,
It's true.
Right. So when you look at those, I'm looking at that going, okay. And again, what we have seen with again, look who's playing for USC right now that was playing for us a couple of years ago. You got Tarquin out there, right?
Yep, Tarquin. Well, he transferred again, but yeah.
Sorry, you're right, he did. But again, with O-lineman, it's really tricky. Experience matters there more than I think just about any position minus quarterback.
100%.
Because if you don't have the reps, if you don't understand how another 287-pound human is going to bounce off you, the hand, the technique, the hip, the foot placement, and keep yourself healthy, that's the other thing too. I think this group is going to be a lot healthier than the 23 group. So on paper, it's a minus. From the eye test, the optics, stock up. It's going up. It's going up.
I like it. I like it. I'm right there with you. All right, I'm gonna put you on the spot real quick. Give me your preferred starting five on the O-line for next season by position. Go.
Holy smokes. You did put me on the spot. You know what? I'll tell you what. Let's go. Okay, see, this is I want either Jake or Knight. I think it's going to be Jake at center.
Yep.
Okay, and then we got George. I think George is better on the left than the right.
I agree. So left guard George. Who you got at left tackle? It's got to be Dixon, right? It's got to be Dixon.
Well, Dixon, because Barber is going to shift
to right tackle.
To right tackle,
where he was better the year before last. He got forced into left tackle, but he was better at right tackle.
Yeah, because of the injuries, he had to shift, right? So
correct.
If he goes back to playing right tackle, he's going to be great.
Correct. Who's right guard?
It's probably have to be Devin.
Could be, but he's more natural at tackle. I want Cam Waits at right guard.
Oh, fair.
But I'm not opposed to Manuel if he's able to adjust the position. But I think he's more natural tackle. I want to see him rotate with either Barber or Dixon or both, whichever he's good with. But that's what I want to see. And I think you do that and you put that into rotation. And you have Najee rotate with the guards. I think that's a solid line, man. I want to see that.
And so you like Jake at center as well, or would you rather see Najee at center?
No, I want to see, and maybe Najee needs to rotate at center because that's the one position I don't know who the backup's for. But but I want to see Jake at center for sure, no question. He was solid at center in the second half of that year, like you said, really, really good. Yeah. So anyway, sorry, I know I threw you a curveball there, but I like it. I think again, if we figure that out early enough that we can get that unit cohesive and gel and don't have injury, that's a key. I really like where that potential is. And maybe one of those other guys, right? Maybe Lovett, maybe Roderick, right? Maybe Caden Jones. Those guys have talent. Everybody I just said is a 4-star. Maybe there's potential for one of those guys to step up. I don't know. But, Fletcher Westfall could play early. He's got a massive body. He's a tackle only, but maybe he comes in and plays some snaps. We have the one thing we do maybe have there is more talent in the depth than we've had before, right? Like that was part of the problem last year is other than the starting five, which the starting five was maybe even not that talented to begin with. But the backups, the talent level dropped so significantly in most cases, depending on the position. But in most cases, it dropped so significantly. And I feel like maybe we're not in that position this year. And that gives me a little more hope there, too. So anyway, I don't want to belabor it too much because I know we got a lot more to get to. But that gives me some hope there. And again, most important, not most valuable, but most important position group on offense, in my opinion, O-line. So can't lose sight of that one. It's huge. Really interested to see how that group develops. And if they develop in the right ways, could really make for an interesting season next year. So moving on, wide receiver, let's go. Here we go. Let's get to the fun stuff. All right. We lost Slick Rick, as everybody knows. And for those that don't know, Slick Rick just tore up the Senior Bowl practices. He is now projected, ladies and gentlemen, as a high second round NFL draft pick as of the latest mock draft boards from multiple different sources. This kid was projected as a 4th to 5th round pick before this week. He is now projected as a high second round pick. For those that maybe don't understand the significance there, that is a massive move on draft boards. Massive. Absolutely killed it. And he didn't even play in the Senior Bowl. He didn't even play the game. That's just from practice. Practice? We're talking about practice? Yes, we're talking about practice. He killed it. He absolutely killed it. Couldn't be happier for him. Hope he goes early in the second round. He deserves it. Great kid. Love him to death, but he's gone.
Yeah.
Wish him all the best. Hope he absolutely goes on to have a Hall of Fame NFL career. Great kid. Love him to death. We also lost Caleb Douglas to Texas Tech and Ty Chikau-Bowman as well. However, we gained Chimere Dike, Jure Hawkins, Mr. Speed. Cannot wait to see that kid play. And Tawaski Abrams. So those are our pickups versus our losses. So as much as I really, really, really wanted another high-end receiver from the portal, CJ Daniels, why didn't you come here? Oh, kills me. Overall, talent-wise, I have to rate this as a slight plus. And here's why. Despite Ricky leaving, and as good as he was, the other two, no disrespect, Caleb, were not as good, not near as good as the two we have coming in to replace them. So when you look at the overall composite here, talent-wise, on paper, this is a plus. Close, very close, but it's a plus as far as the gain or loss, right? It's a close plus. So we improve just barely. However, what I'm more interested to see is the gain we get next season from Gene and Mizell stepping up to play alongside Trey. That is where I'm really interested to see this receiver room grow, because I don't necessarily think we see a ton of Hawkins or Abrams next year, maybe a little bit, but I think it's Gene and Mizell's show next year to step up, step out. And then, of course, DK is going to get a starting role, I think, kind of in replacement of Ricky at that position. He'll be probably the starting, X or Y receiver, or Y or Z, receiver, because X is the slot. And that, I think he will be on the outside playing, kind of filling in the role for Ricky. And then, of course, you'll have Trey in the slot. And then we'll have either Gene or Mizell, probably interchangeable, playing the other side of the field in 3 receiver sets. So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing, and really seeing some impact from those guys as Billy Gonzalez continues to coach them up, develop them, get their route running better and everything else. Now, Gene showed promise for that, and then he got hurt. So I think that kind of stunted him a little bit, but I'm really looking forward to seeing him come out. And then if you talk to people around the team, Mizell was the fastest receiver on the team last year, including Trey Wilson. So we all saw how explosive Trey Wilson was. And they say Gene is faster. Or sorry, not Gene, Mizell. Now that's straight speed. That's not quicks, right? Difference between quick and fast. He's faster, not necessarily quicker, right? But interesting to get some more speed threat out there. This room, the one thing you can say about this room for next year is, holy cow, there is a lot of speed coming out of this room. And I mean a lot. So be very interesting to see how we utilize that, how we leverage that, and how we hopefully get some downfield out of that. And of course, you have Khalil Jackson coming back as well, gives you some size, right? Some ability to go up and get some balls that are a little more potent, a little more powerful in regards to that. So what do you got on wide receiver, bud?
Dig it. Dig it, dig it, dig it. Yeah, man. Slick Rick, love you, man. Great job killing it at Senior Bowl. The practice, not the actual game, but great job on boosting your draft stock. Caleb Douglas just went back home to Texas. That's all that was. Taj Bowman, same deal there. Go back, fine, no big deal. Returning, you got Jaquavion Fraziers, Trey Wilson, Andy Jean, Aiden Mizell, Khalil Jackson, Marcus Burke. In addition to that, we added Shamir, former teammate of Mr. Mertz, or Graham Cracker there. Tawasi, TJ Abrams, Jeray Hawkins. Yes, interested in that. Here's the thing. Starting lineup wise, I am digging Gene, Mizell, Trey, and Shamir right there. That's going to be a starter. And here's the thing, especially if Graham gets in rhythm and Graham gets to hold this offense better, like you said, year 2, and we can go a little bit more downfield, not just 6, 7, 8 yards, 9 yards, 12, 10 yards. We're going downfield. Look out. I feel the need
for speed. I
right?
love it. I love it.
So throw the ball, catch the ball, but for me, wide receiver group is a plus. It's a plus. There's speed, and that's the other thing too. When you look at Khalil Jackson, some of the catches he made last year that were all hands, that boy can catch. He's got some good stock in him, of course, we know that. So really, really excited. Jaquavion might not see a lot of time this year. That's okay. Tawasi might not, TJ might not, Jeray might, that's okay. But Gene, Mizell, Shamir, and Trey, that's your core right there. And
right.
They'll get some sub out with Khalil, Marcus, no problem. Maybe a little bit here and there from Jaquan. Maybe we see Jeray here because apparently Jeray's not a slouch himself.
Yeah, let me see Jeray on that jet sweep pop pass though, just a couple times. Let me see that. Let me see him on that because that boy can fly.
If you can do that and you seal that edge, he gone.
Mm-hmm.
So 100% plus.
I love it. Absolutely. So real quick, we didn't have this as a call out, but I feel it's important to at least comment. Tight end, we don't have reviewed as a position group on here because there's really not much change. We did have, of course, Jonathan Odom and Andrew Sevigny transfer out, as we already talked about as the departures in the previous episode. And then, of course, we have Amir Jackson coming in, as we also have discussed. Those are really the only changes in that room. I think it's a plus for the record because Amir Jackson's talent is ridiculous, and the guys we have leaving are not, no offense intended. So I think if we're just going to evaluate on paper real quick, that is a plus for us there. But overall, the guys that were playing for us there come the end of the season, it's Arliss, right? And he's going to continue to be there. And obviously Amir may come in and do a little for us in a receiving role, maybe not next year, but potentially the year after. And so I think that room, talent wise is an upgrade, and we'll just kind of leave it at that. So with that, we'll move on to running back and take a look at where we stand there. Now, obviously, this is one of the ones that has a big name in it, clearly, as far as what we lost, right? Obviously, we lost Trevor. We all know it, right? We've talked about this at length and how this feels and everything else. But I think it's important to break this one down, right? Because we lost Trevor, but that's all we lost. That's the only running back that left this room. We gained Danen Daniels, Jaden Baugh, and don't forget Cam Carroll back from injury. So there's a couple of positions that we're going to talk about, or a couple of players we're going to talk about at different position groups that we got back from injury because they didn't play at all last season, right? They were injured preseason or even in the spring, and we didn't see them on the field. So in my mind, that's a gain back from the 2023 season, right? Because they didn't play. So we have to talk about them as being gains because they didn't play last year, right? So Cam Carroll's a gain. Now, what condition he'll be in? Will he be back to what he was pre-injury? We don't know, right? We can only speculate. But again, on paper, from a talent standpoint, we're going to evaluate this. Now, even despite gaining these three guys and losing Trevor, I'm still going to call this an on-paper loss, right? Trevor is a special talent. They don't come along like him every day. And for that reason, on paper, I still have to call this a loss. However, I would say it's only a slight loss. I think the optics here make it look like it's a bigger loss than it actually is, right? It appears much larger than what I think it actually is from a talent standpoint. These guys we picked up are no joke. Daniels is legit. Let's be clear. And Baugh is no slouch either. And getting Cam back is significant as well. I could maybe even make an argument this is almost neutral, really, right? Because of the talent that we gained back in. But in fairness, Daniels and Baugh probably not going to see the field a ton. They got to work on their pass protection, right? They got to get into the understanding and scheme of the offense. So when you look at who's actually going to play from this room, Carroll's the only one that probably has a ton of potential to actually see the field a ton in, meaningful snaps. And that's only assuming that he actually comes back from injury at more or less full steam. So because of that, talent-wise, I'll still call it a loss, right? Additionally, we need to talk about what production looks like. Well, having said that, assuming Carroll does come back, and because we do gain Baugh and Daniels, again, if they get some play time, but more importantly, because we return Johnson and we have our second year of Treon Webb, who is no joke if you saw him play any snaps last year, our production should not fall off one bit. Our production should be absolutely as good as our O-line allows for, period. Now, to a degree, I would argue this is kind of a Napier offense thing here, right? So whatever Napier's offense can do, that their offensive line allows them to do, as long as you have a solid staple of running backs, which we clearly do here, right? We'll go as far as our O-line takes us, really regardless of who is in the running back room, as long, again, as it is a solid staple of talent, which without a doubt this is, right? That kind of goes without saying when you listen to the list of names that I just went through. So production-wise, I don't think we miss a beat from losing Trevor. Is it a loss again in talent? Yes, but only a slight one. So I'm not losing sleep here. And again, I hope Shamar or Asa or whoever decides to come lay the lumber on him in the Florida Georgia game. maybe it's LJ McCray. I don't know. But I hope somebody puts him on his back real hard, real early. And sorry, Trevor, but you brought it on yourself. So we'll leave it at that. What you got at running back, bud?
Plus all the way. Trevor
Really?
Who?
Okay, first one we've
Trevor
disagreed on. All right, talk to me.
Trevor who?
Trevor who? Okay, this
I'm
feels a little
sorry.
spiteful, but I'll run with it.
oh, bruh. Your pass protection, unbelievable.
Okay. All right. I'll hear you.
And here's the other thing too. I get it. You can be a little bit shifty, but do you really need a 10-foot gap to be able to run through to create some space and create a good run? I tell you what, Cam Carroll, I really hope that his knee healed up well and he's working in the room and he's getting his reps in and he's getting stronger and stronger and stronger, because the way that Cam runs reminds me almost of the way Isaiah Pacheco runs for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Downhill. That's a bold comparison, sir. That is a bold comparison.
Fair. And like I said, I hope he comes back just as eager, just as ticked off and ready to go north-south, more north than south. But that's the thing. He's got that capacity. Trevor, I felt like there are times. Now, here's the thing. I stood next to Trevor, took a picture with Trevor. Thanks for the photo op. That was great. But Trevor and I are about the same size. The main difference between Trevor and I is, well, he's about a second faster. And his legs are twice the size of mine. Okay, fine. No problem. But outside of that, when you look at the pass protection and all the other intangibles, his hands on some of those out passes, that's why I say this is a plus, and especially if you're going to go to that other school north of the border. Come on, man. Exactly. You got Montrell coming back, being the workhorse that he is. Cool. Treon. I don't think people realize how fast he is.
He is fast, man.
He's fast, right? Eddie Battle, I don't think he's going to get much reps. Eddie had a not the best showing last year. He fumbled a couple times when he got the football. So that was what it was. Daniels and Ball, we'll see how they get thrown into the mix. But Johnson as your first workhorse, Treon as your second, and Cam as your third. I think midway through the season, when Cam gets back into shape and the knee tests out and everything else is good, we're going to see Cam slide into that second spot right under Montrell. I really do believe that. So anyways, outside of that, just player analysis alone, when you look at the difference of losing Trevor Who, I still have the running back room at plus B.
All right. All right. Well, I'll allow it. I'll allow it. All right. With that, we will wrap up the offense. Let's move on to the defense. And it's funny. I'm excited about some of the position groups on offense. I really am. I'm interested. You know what? Interested is a better word to see what comes out of it. I'm excited about Lagway, of course, and I'm excited about some of the receivers because of some of the speed threat. But I'm really more interested to see what some of the things are and what they do, and interested in a positive way, not just interested in a curious way. I'm excited about some of the defensive groups, man. I'm excited to have this piece of the conversation, especially about these first two. All right, let's get into it. D-line, here we go. So, as everybody knows, we lost Princely. We lost Chris McClellan. As you may not know, we lost Keenan Landry, and we lost Will Norman. Will Norman has still not transferred to another school, FYI. He was one of the first guys in the portal, still isn't anywhere. Just a little side note. Okay. We have gained.
Not a coincidence.
Yeah, perhaps not. We have gained LJ McRae, top 10 recruit in the country. Brian Taylor, DeAndre Robinson, Micah Burrow, George Gums, Joey Slagman, and Justice Boone back from injury. Can you say plus? Can you say plus? Can you say plus again? Plus. This D-line is significantly better talent-wise on paper. And I am excited to see this group play, especially when you factor in that Caleb Banks is coming back. This room is stacked for next year. We are going to be better on the interior. We are going to be much better at the edge because now we have threats on both sides. Can you say TJ Searcy? Can you say Kelby Collins? Can you say LJ McRae? Can you say Brian Taylor? Can you say Justice Boone coming back off the ACL? My goodness, we are loaded at edge, absolutely stacked at this position. And then coming back, Caleb Banks, coming back, Des Wattsman, coming back, well, not coming back, I'm sorry, but Joey Slackman coming in from Penn, who is a top 25 transfer portal player. Oh my goodness, we are loaded at D-line. So Mr. Gerald Chapman, Mr. Mike Peterson, let's go. I am so excited to see this room wreak some havoc. So forget chaos. Let's see havoc. I'm ready for it. What do you got for me, man? I am tuned up about this room. Give me what you got.
I can tell, and I love it, and I will echo it. So I'm not going to get into the depth that you did because, quite frankly, I don't even want to follow that. You did such a great job.
Thank you.
No, seriously, dude, with this crew and what we're seeing, I know a lot of people are saying, well, we're not going to be that good. This is not going to be that good. It's going to be more of the same. Folks, I'm telling you, last year we got cheated. And I'll say it like this. We had Princely on one side and Justice should have been. Princely was on the left. Justice was on the right. Justice, unfortunately, tore his ACL before the season started in practice. We got cheated on that.
Yeah,
we really did. We really did. And so coming into this season, Justice looks very tuned in. He actually told LJ McRae in LJ's last visit, like, you better come ready to work, boy, because I'm ready to get after it. I lost a season last year. I got to make up for that. He's hungry. right? You add Joey Slackman. Here's the thing: people are like, okay, Pennsylvania University, great, he played in the Ivy League. Here's the catch: what people don't know about Joey Slackman, he was also recruited by 6 other schools.
Yeah.
That's pretty heavy, right? Brian Taylor, JUCO transfer. Brian Taylor is a freak of an athlete.
Yeah, that guy is flying under the radar. Nobody is talking about him. I am super excited to watch him tear it up.
Folks, go to On3. Look at the profile on Brian Taylor. It's phenomenal. Caleb Banks, as you met, coming back. Cam Jackson. We got Sack.
True. Cam Jackson. True.
Okay. So outside of that, cannot be more pumped for this line. Cannot be more pumped for what AA and the energy that he is going to inject with Chapman to create that scheme to wreak havoc. And that's the key about SEC football, people. And we've mentioned it last fall multiple times. You've got to win in the trenches. And no disrespect to last year's team, we just did not have, for whatever reason, that keen sense to win in the trench. This fall, I believe with this core, we can win in the trench, period.
I love it. I love it. And I think you're right. I think this group is the one I'm most pumped about on defense. And I'm excited about a bunch of groups on defense. And clearly by what I just got into, I'm very excited about where this group stands. There's really no two ways about it. It's really one that has me pretty jacked up. So with that being said, let's take a look at where we're at on linebacker. So linebacker, we lose Scooby. Bye. And Taraja Mitchell. Taraja Mitchell, of course, to graduation. Scooby to Florida West. So we gain Miles Graham, top 100 recruit. Aaron Childs, top 100 recruit. Well, depending on the service you look at, but and Grayson Howard via transfer, top 300 recruit. So, other than QB, this may be the clearest gain on paper of any position group. We gain talent here phenomenally. Our talent upgrade at this position. We lost 2 guys who were not very good. No disrespect intended. I really like Taraja as a person. He seems like a class act guy. Yep, we'll leave it there. I mean, I just don't have any feelings on Scooby from a personal standpoint. He didn't really make a lot of statements to the media. I don't really know what kind of guy he is. And I don't really think anything negatively of him. But talent-wise, you know, we saw what we saw, and it is what it is. But Taraja, talent-wise, left a lot to be desired as well. We lose those guys, and we pick up a bunch of really talented dudes. In addition to that, we get Shamar back from injury, of course, even though, of course, he played last season. But interestingly enough, for those that don't know, we kind of talked about this a little during the season last year. Shamar may have tweaked that knee in the Kentucky game, for those that don't know. So after the first 3-4 games of the season, Shamar may have been playing slightly hurt to begin with. And then, of course, he gets fully hurt in the Georgia game. So he may have not even really been himself for several games there. And yeah, I think him coming back this season as a junior, watch out. This is really his season to shine. I think he really could show out and really be an outstanding linebacker, and yet to be seen who'll play next to him. Of course, we also bring back Manny Nunnery, who entered the portal and then came back out of the portal and said, yeah, I think I'm going to stay. We also, of course, returned Derek Wingo, who has his shortcomings, but homeboy can tackle. And I like linebackers that can tackle.
Oh, yeah.
Coverage is an issue, but I'll live with it sometimes when he can tackle, right? You're not going to run on Derek. He's got some game for that, and I love him in a blitz package. So anyway, the upside of this room might actually hold even more potential than D-line. as a piece in this defense. I am genuinely excited to watch the front seven of this defense next year. It could be legitimately scary. You heard me talk about at the end of the year last year that I saw the potential for this defense to be really strong next year. I feel even stronger about that now with the transfer portal additions, the recruiting. Miles Graham might play next year. Hell, he might start next year. I won't put that out. He is legitimately awesome as a talent. He is that good. So we may see him next to Shamar. I don't know. Time will tell. Spring will tell. Right? Summer camp will tell. We'll see what happens because I think Grayson is the more likely candidate. However, who knows? Miles Graham's legit. So we don't know what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, the linebackers that we're going to put on the field are going to be a lot better than the ones we put on the field this year. And again, the upside of this unit as a whole, the rotation here, if your starting rotation is one of the two between Shamar and Miles or Shamar and Grayson, and your backups are Aaron Childs and Pup Howard or Miles Graham, okay. And you're bringing in Derek Wingo for blitz packages, Manny Nunnery for coverage. Yep. We're good. Sounds good. I'm in. All in. This is a unit that I am also extremely excited to watch, really happy about. And I have not felt that way about the linebacking core at Florida since, I don't know, Brandon Spikes was on the roster. It's been a minute. So this is really, really exciting stuff. What do you got for me on linebacker, bud?
Yeah, love it, man. Love it. Plus all the way. Has to be a plus. It is a plus. Buy Scooby. No more Scooby snacks for you. Go enjoy over there. And Mitchell, I agree with you. Class act, good guy. What a rotation though, man. Manny Nunnery's coming back. Wingo's coming back. Shamar. You remember we talked about after that Kentucky game and just Shamar in general and how he looked. And it's like, okay, the tackles went down. And then after the Georgia game, it's like, okay, shut him down, surgically repair the kneecap, get back to 100%. I believe this fall he comes back 100%. But in addition to that, Manny, Derek, and Shamar are going to anchor that linebacker core because they're going to have the opportunities with AA, because of the packages, and of course with Will. And in addition to that, now you're bringing on a top 100, top 100, top 300. And like you said, I wouldn't put it past if Miles does start or Aaron does start. There's potential for it. But the one thing that I will say, after seeing some of the tape on Aaron and Miles, tackling technique.
Yep, it's really good.
It's really tackling good. Is the fundamentals that they have. Hopefully, I think will translate to the college game, and they're tackling a little bit faster, a little bit quicker, a little bit bigger. But at the end of the day, when we look at the amount of tackles that we missed last year, when we look at the amount of times that a linebacker, it's my pet peeve, gets trucked.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that's going to be diminished this fall. Super stoked about it. Linebacker core, nothing but pluses.
I love it. Speaking of getting trucked, let's talk about corner.
Wow.
So, guys, we lost that like to get trucked. Jalen Kimber. Oh, okay. Jaden Hill still hurts. And Jadarius Perkins doesn't hurt at all. Okay. Guys, we gained. Now, the quick note here. The guys we gained at corner, we are going off the on 3 definition of position here. So could be some dispute here about who's a corner, who's a safety, but we're going to take on 3 for how they define the position. So run with us here. And if you have some guys that you think of as a corner versus safety, just go with us on the definition of position here. So gained Teddy Foster, Jameer Grimsley via transfer, which is silly, but there you go, and DJ Douglas. So based on this, we absolutely gained more than we lost on paper. not like a dramatic amount because Jaden Hill has to be taken into account here, and he was excellent. He really was excellent. However, the other two were not excellent, right? Again, Jalen 2 years ago was really good, but last year, again, maybe just press man isn't his thing, right? We talked about it. And Jadarius, when he knows who to cover, he's good, but when he doesn't, oof. So looking at this on paper, and on film with DJ, looks pretty good. Looks pretty good, and I think it's a gain. Jameer is the one who really puts us over the top from a talent perspective, though, as far as the gain goes, right? Teddy and DJ are probably, kind of equivalents to Jadarius and Jalen as far as the talent spectrum goes, but Jameer clearly, top 200 recruit, really, really solid. Looks like a great get. Not sure how much he'll play next year, but regardless, overall, the room gets upgraded. And still got to feel really, really good about this unit's production next year overall because we get Jason Marshall back. We get Devin Moore back. We get Jameer Jackson back, right? And he's waiting in the wings to come on and play. We still don't know what happens. Just blanked on the name because I don't have it written down here. And he was a 4-star as well. I apologize. Can't think of it, but you have a list of guys there. Help me out.
Greg Smith?
Nope.
Josiah
not a
Davis.
recruit. Corner that we drafted last year. Blanking on his name. He's the one who got the penalty for
Denson.
leaping.
Sharif Denson.
Nope, it's nickel.
You got Sharif Denson, Jakeem Jackson, Jason Marshall, Devin Moore.
Keep going.
Oh, his name does escape me.
Hang on, I'm going to find it. Dejon Johnson. There it is.
Oh,
that is
mayonnaise?
Who I'm thinking of.
Mustard. Dijon Mustard. Gotcha.
Yeah, Dijon Mustard. Apologies for the mess up there, but that is who I'm thinking of. And he may still come on as a potential prospect, right? That's a 4-star prospect that we signed. He is a top 300 guy from last year. Played a little as a freshman, didn't show out like we might have wanted him to, but there's a potential there, right? The only real question that I have here from a production standpoint is how do we fill the nickel, right? So if you look at that as a guy that typically comes from a cornerback position rather than a safety, which it usually is, Denson is certainly one. Obviously, he played some nickel last year and did a pretty good job. But where else do we fill this? We might have it with Bridges, right? Taquez Bridges might fill this. We'll talk about him at safety. But we're not 100% sure where that totally fills from. Again, Sharif Denson is the obvious one, but maybe DJ Douglas plays it. I don't know. We're not sure about how that fills out yet. That's kind of remains to be seen, and that's the only real question mark I have coming in here. At true corner, I feel really solid, really, really solid about this room and think it's got a lot of promise and a lot of potential. And again, with Will Harris coaching it, I think we have an upgrade here. In terms of the talent and the production combined with the coaching, I think it's going to get better. It's the nickel that I still have kind of a little question mark at because, again, Jaden Hill did a really good job there. And I'm a little concerned that production might get a little bit worse. But again, remains to be seen. So what do you got at corner?
Yeah, man. So a little bit different take. I think it's a plus. I do. I think it's a plus. I think it's a gain across the board. But here's why I don't think it's as significant. And I know what you mean regarding the loss. I know Jaden was tough for you. But at the end of the day, when you look at the tackling, okay?
Yep.
Mitchell missed, according to Pro Football Focus, Mitchell missed almost 28% of his tackles. Okay.
So Mitchell's a safety though, right? So
sure, I get that. But coming back to it based off that, look at Hill. Hill missed 27% of his tackles according to Pro Football Focus.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
I would not have known that. Okay.
No, right? So that's the other thing. With Will Harris, with the other pieces coming back, it's a plus, it's a gain. I like what I saw out of Jakeem Jackson last year. Devin Moore is going to come back better. Devin got lost in some pass coverages last year. He got beat a couple times. I think that's going to be much different this year. Jason Marshall, folks, Jason Marshall was like that annoying brother to me, and the older brother, and I just wanted to pick on him, and I just wanted to just he had this particular air about him, and he was left over from Mullen. And what do we do with Jason Marshall? I tell you what, Jason Marshall had a phenomenal end to the season.
Yes, he did.
Probably one of the biggest 180s, if you ought to call it comeback, whatever, of any player on the team. Super excited to see what he's going to do in 24, and super excited to see what he does to mentor these younger guys. So that's going to be great. Grimsley, boy, he has potential to play right off the bat. So hopefully he picks up the scheme, everything else. Foster, Douglas, great additions, but Dejon Johnson, yes, can't believe he blanked on that name. And then including Denson into that mix with Sharif there. Again, I think it's a plus. I think it's a gain just from the paper itself. The missed tackles, the other issues last year. It's a gain. It's a plus. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, man. And I'm with you. I had it as a plus too, for the record. It's just, for me, the only question was that production at nickel, right? That's my only question mark. And I'm not saying that's a minus. I'm just saying that I'm not sure. And it's kind of a question mark for me of what do we do there? Because Sharif wasn't bad there, but I'm just not sure that he's capable of playing it at the same level consistently that we saw from Jaden at that position. Really interesting stat there about the 27% missed tackles, though. I would not have known that. I thought Jaden was really solid on tackling. He missed some coverages sometimes, rarely, but he did. But I would not have known 27% missed tackles. That's crazy. That's good to know.
Yeah.
It's good to know. Makes me feel a little better, honestly.
At least, but yeah, you can thank Pro Football Focus for that.
All right, good enough. Good enough. Okay. Last but not least, the safety position. Here we go. We lost Miguel Mitchell. I'm not shedding any tears. And we lost Kamari Wilson. Again, not going to lose sleep. Really, again, we mentioned this before. Class act in his leaving. Really, really good stuff that he had to say. I will compliment any kid that leaves in as classy a way as Kamari did, and I'll do it again. So kudos to him. Wish him all the best. Just didn't work out here, and sometimes that happens. So,
yeah,
what did we gain? Well, again, according to On3, by the positional definition, we gained Gregory Smith, who has recently upgraded to a 4-star in both services, On3 and 247, which is why we gained that spot in recruiting class, by the way.
Yes.
Asa Turner, really nice get out of Washington. Josiah Davis and Triquez Bridges. So, and again, Triquez is kind of the one that's most questionable here. He could play either or, but technically defined as a safety. So, very solid improvement here from a talent standpoint. On paper, no question, significant gains. Mitchell did not play well last year at all. He is not, in my opinion, an SEC safety, despite the fact that he transferred to another SEC team. I don't think he's an SEC safety. I just don't. And we all know Kamari barely really played at all, right? There was a fit problem here. Hey, again, wish him the best at Arizona State. Good luck to him. So the quality of talent and play, right? Talent and production, whatever you want to call it, we are bringing in with these recruits and transfers both is very solid and should produce a much higher quality of on-the-field production next year, as well as in the years to come. I am really glad to see some more tackling from this group next year, because if there's one thing that I am sick of seeing in one position group in particular, it is the safeties not tackling well. No offense to this group as a whole, but the one thing that really, really missed last year was safeties not making tackles. The one position that should tackle well in the field besides your linebackers is your safeties, and woof, we didn't do it. As Randy always likes to say, we got trucked, we didn't do the trucking, and I am hoping that some of these additions will make changes in that. So that is what I'm looking forward to. What do you have, kind sir?
Yeah. Not a whole lot different. Mitchell, Wilson, it's all good. Bye. Those additions were phenomenal. And not to mention the pieces that we have returning. I think it's just going to get even better. Even better, right? So Jordan Castell's coming back. That's going to be, he had just a great freshman year, and we do know that a lot was asked of him, especially when Shamar went down. There was a lot asked of him, but either way, can't say enough about the safety group. I want to see these guys just lay out, for lack of a better term, and just hit some people. Asa Turner from Washington. If people think, okay, it's Washington, they're out west there, they throw the football a lot, they run the score up. Asa Turner can hit.
Yeah, he also allowed 0 touchdowns in his last 70 something pass coverages or some number like that.
76, right? 146 career tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 6 INTs, fumble recovery, and yes, no touchdowns allowed in the past 76 coverages.
Love it.
Okay.
Good stuff.
I'll take that.
Yes,
right?
sir.
So that's going to be great. A lot to be said about Smith, a lot to be said about Davis, a lot to be said about Bridges, even Bridges, and what he fit into the Oregon program. A lot of speed,
let's not forget, he's out there in Oregon playing for Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning is a hell of a defensive coordinator, right? Now, I know he's a head coach, but he's a hell of a defensive coordinator. Let's not forget, he coordinated some of the best defensives Georgia has put on the field.
There you go.
Let's not let that go aside, right? Kirby or no Kirby, he was the DC for some of the best Georgia defenses that Kirby has had. So this guy knows defense. Really, really solid addition. The additions at safety are legit, people, from a transfer standpoint. Those two are serious. Really nice job there. Sorry again to cut you off, but those are really, really good ones.
No, you got to be, and that's the deal, right? And to go back to Castell real quick, he led the team in tackles last year with 60, led the team in solo tackles with 30. So that's great. I love to see what he brings in year 2, right, as a freshman standout with all that was put on his shoulders last year. In addition to that, we got Bryce, we got RJ, we got Aaron. Now, as far as RJ and Aaron, we'll see what they do. Aaron Gates.
Bryce, Aaron Gates is an interesting one too. Good call out there.
Yeah, so we'll see. Thornton played in all 12 games, right? He had 4 or 5 starts, right? I think Thornton is going to battle Asa for that spot, but at the end of the day, here's the thing. We have good starters. There's good personnel. There's good techniques there. There's good athletic ability there. In addition to that, the backups are equally as strong in that position. So I think that's what's going to help spur on that safety position in a really great way that we did not have last year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the depth, to your point, is way, way, way better at a bunch of different positions in ways that we didn't have. Like it's not that we didn't have depth, but we didn't have the talent in the depth. Right. We had guys behind the guys we were playing. They just weren't any good. Right. Like again, no offense is intended in anything that we say. And when we say these things, right, we really don't mean offense when we say these things. It's just an evaluation of the talent that we see on the field. Like RJ Moten is back on the roster. If RJ Moten sees a snap next year, it's because 3 guys are injured.
Calling a spade a spade.
Calling a spade a spade. It's not meant to be anything against RJ Moten. He's not nearly as good as the guys that we have who should be in front of him on the depth chart. He will play only if guys are hurt. Multiple guys are hurt. And I hope it doesn't come to that. So, like, to your point, I think Ace is the starter, clearly. I think Bryce is the backup in all likelihood. Again, barring something weird, and maybe Bryce takes a big step forward and he is the starter. Hey, if that happens, it means Bryce has taken a huge step forward, and that's great. But I think in all likelihood, he's the starter. But then we have a backup who's coming in and learning from him and getting a lot better in Bryce, and probably not making a bunch of the same mistakes that he did last year, not missing some of those tackles, not allowing some of those explosive, not taking some of those bad angles that he did last year. And that's the point. And this happens all around the field because of some of the talent, some of the depth, some of the positions that we brought in that make the team better overall. And that's what we need to see here. The starting talent we had last year was not bad. The players we had behind them were extremely weak. It's just calling it what it is.
Yeah.
And that is part of the reason why we were not as good as we probably could have been, whatever the case you want to call it, right? The drop off in last year's team was significant from starters to backups. And especially when you started to get into some of the injuries, it really got rough. So hopefully, new strength and conditioning coach, having less injuries, having better starters, having better backups, these things are going to make the team a lot better next year. This is the hope. This is the hope. These are the things that it looks like on paper. We want to reemphasize this. We are not promising, we are not guaranteeing. This is just what it looks like. So with that, any other closing thoughts that you have from this breakdown of the current and future state of the football program, sir?
I'm just going to sum it up like this. Overall, when we look at the different positions that we just reviewed, I think we have to say gain across the board. So that's my first thing, is gain. Secondly, some of those numbers are deceiving. By what I mean by that is the way some players are ranked, the stars, whatever the case might be. That's going to be key. The second thing that really stood out to me is depth. We said it a couple times, but to be more specific, last year, and I think, B, that was a great point you just made. Last year, it seemed like when we got the injury bug, boy, we paid for it.
Yeah, agreed.
You know, we struggled. And so this year, it's interesting to see the depth that we have. And so I think depth is what's going to carry us through. I love the fact that last year we did not quit in games, but at the same time, you look at hard work, you look at talent, you look at skill, you look at all those things combined. And I think we have reloaded in a unique way that can help propel us through that beast of a schedule this coming fall. And again, folks, I know it might seem like orange and blue goggles, whatever, it's fine. But all these other things on paper, they point up, and it points to a good progression, and it points to hopefully a very competitive, a very spirit-filled, winning season, whether it be 7-5, 8-4, whatever the case might be.
We're not going to get carried away beyond 8-4, are we?
I know, no. But can we be competitive? Can we put a better product out on the field? Can we excite? Can we play with passion and intensity? Can we play to the whistle?
Yep.
That's what I want to see.
I love all those points. Now, you said one thing, and you said pluses across the board, except we agreed that on paper, the one position group that is not a plus is the O-line. And that, to me, is going to be a huge key. It's going to be a huge key, because we both talked about the fact that on paper, it's a minus. Maybe not a huge minus, but a minus nonetheless. And that was talking about a unit that already wasn't good. And talent-wise, we went down. So, yikes. Yikes. That is not good overall when we really look at this thing holistically. So, number one, can we make any more additions in the spring portal? I think that would be helpful, number one. Number two, if we don't, which I hope we do, number one, but if we don't, is this unit going to be able to pull some of that magic off that we talked about, right? Are they going to be able to find a way to gel? Are they going to be able to get some guys positionally at places that work better for them than they did last year, i.e. Damian George at guard, Damian George at guard. Oh, I'm sorry. I get a little worked up about that one.
What was that again?
I don't want to see that guy play tackle. If you haven't noticed, people, but that is really going to be something that I am going to get on my soapbox about really hard next year if it happens. But anyway, this is the kind of thing that we're talking about, though. That position group, I think, most of all, is going to be something to really key in on as we look at everything, because I think really everywhere else we're either, borderline, plus or minus, or really neutral, whatever. It's really close, or we're significantly better. I mean, that's really what it boils down to, right? From looking at this, except O-line. O-line, I don't see an argument for how we're plus on paper. I just don't see it. So
Sure.
what are we going to do there, right? Are we going to do something to make us plus, or are we going to figure out a way to get these guys to play together in a different way, in different positions, better in their positions, better mix of talent at the positions, right? Whatever it is that makes them play better, again, as a unit. It's the one position group that plays more as a unit than any other position group on the field. So there is hope that I have there, but it is hope more than data, more than statistics, more than numbers that I can use to back that up at the moment. So hopefully, again, we see improvement there, but I don't have anything to back that up at the moment. So it's a wait and see thing on the O-line. And that's the one that could really make a difference really in our season next year. So it's a wait and see, it's a fingers crossed, and we're just going to have to see what time will tell. And that's the big takeaway that I have from this whole thing, as much as anything, is what happens with the O-line. So with that, we'll bring this thing to an end. Really appreciate everybody for listening to this. I know we went on for quite a bit with this one, but I think it was really cool to kind of get into this and look at all the different position groups. And I really enjoyed it. Really appreciate everybody for taking the time to listen. So with that in mind, wherever you are and whenever you may be listening, thanks for taking the time, and we'll see you around, Gator Nation.